reservoir into the center of the brain, into the fluid area, and injected aminoglycosides, an antibiotic, hoping that was the only way to kill it. And my understanding, they had to stop that prematurely because there was an increased unexpected incidence of death. Then I remember I was in residency at the time. I remember hearing, well, out of desperation, they were going to take this research to other countries, specifically other continents, Africa. There had been a plan for a big study there to come up with a solution for our population's benefit. I don't know what developed in terms of whether research was done, and luckily it culminated in the development of what's called third-generation cephalosporins, so an antibiotic that can cross the blood-brain barrier and adequately treats this meningitis, so it's a non-problem. But that ethical issue and taking it offshore for solution with questionable ethics, that was in the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
What's your understanding of, are you knowledgeable of what went on there?
No, no. I would say that this is another major issue that we're dealing with vis-a-vis the contemporary project. The change in where research is being conducted has dramatically shifted in the past decade, and most research is now being done internationally. This is a giant sea change compared with 10 years ago. Trials in neurologic diseases, definitive trials, are typically done in hundreds of sites around the world. I'm leading a trial now with 220 sites on 4 different continents. There are many reasons for the encouragement of internationalization of trials, some of which are very good ones, but some of them, as you say, are not good ones. And trying to understand the rules that should govern international clinical trials, I think, is a major issue that we're hoping to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, we won't have time to, I think, go through all of the contemporary studies, but Steve mentioned that one thing that we were asked to do was to form an international research panel, which the names were selected, again, through the Office of Science and Technology Policy in the White House for who served on that international research panel. And that's helpful, thank you. So there were 14 members of this research panel from 10 different countries, and they had several different meetings where they came together to talk about contemporary research and to advise as a subcommittee of the commission about their specific recommendations, given that so much research today, if not the majority of federally funded research, is happening internationally. And so bringing together experts from across the world who are experts in their own countries and more generally about international research to provide specific recommendations to the Commission about how to think about contemporary research standards in international research. And they reported back a separate report, which has also been published by the Commission, about their recommendations. And their recommendations are serving to inform our current report, which we'll issue in December if all goes as planned. Excellent, thank you. Which is also available at the website at bioethics.gov. And we are going through each of their recommendations to decide how to treat those recommendations and whether or not those recommendations will be incorporated into what the Bioethics Commission ultimately recommends. So this is a subcommittee. It is not recommendations to the President. It's recommendations to the Commission. And we're deliberating with respect to those issues right now.
Yeah, so the Guatemala report is available. You can get this online, and also the Research Across Borders report, both from this fall.
Are there any, I know we're almost out of time, so are there any additional questions? Yeah.
Tell me if this is too far off base, but my impression is that with the Tuskegee experiment, one of the consequences was that people within the African American community became very distrustful of medical research, and that could have a long tail and affect people's current health pursuit of
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on that issue as it might pertain to your mission or part of, in a sense, part of making, trying to undo harm, I think has to do with that issue.
I think there's no question about what you just said. And there is a belief still among many sectors of the society that the Tuskegee study was like the Guatemala study in that there was an intentional inoculation that was not disclosed. And there certainly were phlebotomies done, so there was some invasion that one could misinterpret. And when something like the Guatemalan study comes out, that only adds fuel to these sorts of ideas. And I would say respectfully to our species that we all also have a tendency to look for simple answers to very complicated biological, medical issues. And the misunderstanding of scientific discoveries, the availability of misinformation as well as true information online, the chat rooms that can magnify misinformation create a perfect storm in some ways for the dissemination of misinformation. And in the SynBio, the synthetic biology report, and also in this report, and I suspect in our future reports on genomics and neuroimaging, we are going to continue to drive home the importance of scientific literacy, which is absolutely essential. And we are so subject to wanting the cure, wanting the answer, that people who are extremely sophisticated, medically trained, will seek out, somebody who says, I have the answer for you. So I think on both sides, both on the distrust side and on the trust side, scientific literacy is a real important part of the solution.
Well, I feel the wine and cheese calling, but I can't resist having 15% or so of the commission here to ask a question about the commission going forward. Your reports thus far have been things that you were asked to report on. You're now moving into areas where you're making decisions about what you want to look at.
Maybe.
How is that, right, unless the president
Right.
tells you to drop everything and do something else. Do you have any thoughts you can share with us about agenda setting within a bioethics commission? I think the CAS commission, the agenda was set there fairly strongly by a very strong-willed and knowledgeable chair who knew what he wanted to look at by and large. Where are you guys headed and why, and how should you decide what you're looking at?
One principle that was in the synthetic biology report was the principle of democratic deliberation. And that was not by accident, since the chair of the commission is Amy Gutman, who is the lead scholar and person who developed the concept of democratic deliberation. And she has really run the commission in a model of democratic deliberation. And so in agenda setting, what each of us did was offer recommendations for what we thought were timely and important topics. And we have discussed those topics as a commission as a whole. We have voted on it and had kind of deliberative conversations and ongoing conversations about the timeliness of topics, because when we're asked to take on something like synthetic biology, it took the place of something else that we were going to work on. And so rather than remaining static about what we think are important issues, we revisited what's a timely issue now and revisited the conversation as a commission as a whole. How do I think it should happen? I think one thing that Steve mentioned about the commission that is unique is we have a truly diverse set of perspectives and backgrounds. And that's a real value to a commission like this, in that people come with different agendas, with different ideas, and with different relative understanding of what's important in society today, particularly from a bioethics perspective. And so I think as a deliberative body, having each member come forward with what they think is important and to have an open discussion as part of a commission rather than having it decreed by a single chair as a valuable part of the process.
We are free to explore any area that we want, but we are also obligated to accept charges given to us by the president or the secretary. And this has been a challenge for us over the past 18 months, I would say, that we have been focused largely on unexpected events that have resulted in charges being given to us to deliver reports on subjects, the creation of life, as you heard from Nita, not quite correct by the Venter Institute, or this Guatemalan event and the look again at the landscape of clinical research. So other issues that committee members very much would want to tackle have not yet been available to us, but we hope that there'll be time.
So you're hoping for no more surprises?
We are.
Well, I would say, with one caveat, which is the real benefit of being asked to take on an issue is that it's an issue of importance and relevance to the executive branch at the time that we're asked to do it. And so to the extent that we want to be relevant to decision-making and policy-making, I think it is a welcome interaction to actually be able to inform things that are topical and relevant to the executive branch at the time.
Well, as the host here, I am obligated to ask you to join me in thanking the speakers, but I do it freely as well.